So we have the wonderful Vidya Balan with us today. Vidya, it's so lovely to have you back, and you're looking just amazing in Sherni. The film itself looks terrific, but you're looking quite the part as well. So
thank you.
Let's talk a little about it. Perhaps the most physically demanding role that you've done, and also your idea of what is wild now and what is urban, what is natural, what is not. I think it must have been completely changed by your experience in the jungle.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this film happened to me because I was ready for it, to embrace the wild, so to speak. My interaction with the wild, was limited to the jungle safaris that I've done, honestly. Even when we went, we visited Siddharth's parents, they live on a farm. I would always be a little cautious about stepping out, especially in the dark. And, I've never been very comfortable with just being out in the wild,
right,
in the forest. And that's changed, Kaveri.
Yeah.
Firstly, thank you for that, for all those wonderful compliments. But I think it has definitely changed something.
Right.
Yeah, it has definitely changed something. It's also deepened my understanding of, when we talk about the man-animal conflict, about how we need to really create that and maintain that fine balance between the human kind and animals, between our world and theirs, so to speak.
Right.
I think all those things, my understanding of all that is definitely deepened.
Right. And also, Vidya, it comes at a time when, we now know exactly what we have done to the wild. We have just destroyed it with our rapaciousness, and, we've just been thoughtless about the way we look at the wild and we look at nature. And this came to you at a time, if I'm not mistaken, when we had just got through the first lockdown, or while the lockdown was happening. Just give me the timelines, please.
We actually shot the first schedule of the film before the pandemic happened.
Right.
And then, of course, we had to wrap things up and come back, come home. But I think I don't know how many people still realize, the impact that our actions have on the environment.
Right.
For one, I didn't. Again, that's changed. Now, someone who's like, I would actually get a bit agitated when environmentalists would get really passionate and say that, but development is at the cost of environment. And I feel like, but we need development also, right?
Right.
So how are you going to bridge that gap and things like that? And I almost thought like they were being a bit, I don't know, I didn't get it.
Right.
But I think this film has made me understand that firstly, that balance is achievable. If we all put our heads together, if we all put our hearts together, because intention is very important in conservation.
Right.
And there are ways we can find sustainable, sustainable options for everything, or we can make sustainable choices for everything. So these are the kind of, I think I began to, I'd say this film has opened my eyes to that, but I don't know whether the pandemic has been able to do that. Maybe definitely for more people than before, but I still think it's a conversation that people feel like a little otherworldly about. It's almost like that, we don't have to bother about that.
Right. And Vidya, you also spent a long time in the forest, exactly in the forest, I think in the middle of nowhere. What did it tell you about yourself, and what did it tell you about the idea of being on your own, literally with the elements around you? And, did that help you discover yourself, discover an aspect to yourself that you didn't know you had?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I was at peace when we were shooting for this film. to the extent that because we didn't have connectivity, in the days before the lockdown, when I think we came back a week before the lockdown, we didn't even realize that, our lives were going to change like this, because we were not really keeping in touch with the news or anything like that. That being disconnected from the world was actually a blessing.
Yeah.
And it really helps you. I think we were all breathing better air. We were all beginning to appreciate just the forest in its entirety. Forest is, I think, and it's so varied, and you realize how diverse it is, how symbiotic it is. Even the fungi are so crucial to maintain the ecosystem. And we would have conversations. We had an expert on set, who's guiding us through.
An environmentalist?
Sorry?
An environmentalist?
Yes.
Forest.
Someone who's actually, he is an environmentalist. He's a conservationist, and he's worked with the forest department also in the past. And his passion is butterflies. So he's done elaborate, he's photographed butterflies of all kinds all over the world.
Who's this? Do you remember his name?
His name is Mr. His name is Mr. Noorani.
Okay.
Sorry, Biryani. Yeah, Mr. Biryani. So he would tell me things, and then I remember asking him a basic question one day, like, is this a deciduous forest or is this a coniferous forest? How can you tell the difference?
Yeah.
Because I've learned all this in school.
Exactly.
But then I've not really gone into the forest and figured, and then he explained it to me very patiently, and it was just amazing, yeah. And everyone was getting interested, it was not just about, we were also hoping to spot animals and things like that, which didn't quite happen. But because we were shooting only in the times when it was okay for us to be shooting in the forest. We worked in close collusion with the MP tourism department, and it was a seamless process therefore, but it was really an eye-opener.
Right. Talk a little about the idea of being the Sherni, because we always hear that, the Sherni is the one who goes out hunting, does all the work, and the Sher just lies back and, just enjoys the fruits of her labor. And it's actually, which is actually what most women do in life. But, that idea, that tapping into the Sherni in you, what was that?
I think that is exactly like you said it. You know, a Sherni is a doer.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to Amit in one of my early conversations around the film about Vidya Balan, the character. He said, a tigress, you don't need to roar to be a tigress.
Wow.
And I think that said everything to me that I needed to know about the character. No, because she's very withdrawn, but she's very resolute.
Right.
She's very determined. She believes in doing things the right way and her way, and she goes about doing it. She'll brave any obstacle in the path. She's fearless, but when you look at her, you don't think of her like that.
Exactly.
So I think that's the beautiful dichotomy in so many of us, right?
Yeah.
I think every woman has immense strength in her.
Right.
And they display it in different ways. Just because they're not ways that you're familiar with does not make them weak. Just because they're not obvious shows of strength does not make them weak.
Exactly.
I think there is a Sherni in each one of us, and that's what he beautifully tapped into. But a Sherni is a doer. So she can be a homemaker.
Right.
She can be a professor. She can be a forest officer. She can be leading, a corporate. She could be a journalist or an actor, a writer. She could be a teacher. I'm saying or anyone, just house help.
Right.
I think it's just, we're doers.
Yeah.
That's what it is about.
But the world is made for the talkers, no? The world is not made for the doers. The world is made for the people who hype things up and, you know, it's all about flash and dash and...
No, but I think, not everyone wants to get noticed.
Exactly.
Vidya Vincent would rather be invisible.
Right.
So she's happy in her world, probably, therefore she's chosen to be in the forest.
Right.
This is and a great escape from, because there are people who want to be by themselves. They enjoy their own company. Right. She enjoys being in the forest. She enjoys reading. She's one of those who doesn't want to be seen. She just wants to do her job well. Right. There are lots of us like that. So she's not looking for that acknowledgement from anyone else. But people who look for acknowledgement, I think,
isn't it wonderful? Because we are always trying to look for validation from other people. No, that's our whole life.
Yeah. I think that it takes us years to realize that you're not going to find that where you're looking for it. It's actually within. Yeah.
So many things coming together in this movie. Also, the idea of solitude, as you said, likes her own company, would rather not be seen. That's quite fascinating because, I mean, as women, now we are told, okay, we have to be seen, we have to be at the, we have to have the seat at the table, we have to lean in. We are told all this because we spent our whole lives not being seen. So now, to come back to that idea that you actually can be quite happy if you're not seen also.
Yeah, and she is a loner.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely okay to be that. Like, in various conversations, I keep, when they ask about, like, in Tumhari Suluk, when I played Homemaker, people kept saying, but, she's just a homemaker. And I was like, there's no just a homemaker.
Yeah.
Unless it's a choice that has been thrust upon her and she's uncomfortable with it. If a choice she's made, then hats off to her. Even that is empowerment.
Right.
As long as you are doing what you want to be doing.
Right.
So I think this idea of the empowered woman also needs to be, opened up a bit.
Right.
And I think these are very limiting.
Yeah.
Because we are judging someone else by the parameters we have set.
Talk about
there are parallel universes and everyone's reality is different.
Exactly.
We need to realize that,
Right. Talk a little about the physical preparation of it, because there's lots of walking, lots of, lots of just talking, walking, How was that? Because that's very demanding.
No, it was lovely. I loved walking.
Yeah?
If I could, I'd walk the length and breadth from Bombay often.
Yeah.
We don't get to do that because of the kind of traffic we have here.
Exactly.
But whenever I'm traveling, I walk a lot. We were in MP. I was living in a tent during the first schedule before Corona happened. And I used to go off for these long walks in the jungle all by myself.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a dense forest, so it didn't feel threatening in any way. And everyone around me, there would be security following me, and I'd say, please let me be, there's no bhalu emerging out of nowhere to attack me. So I think I love that. I love that. And, it kind of set the tone for me because we went 4 days before just to familiarize ourselves with the place. And, I literally just slipped into that world so seamlessly. I think that was the only physical preparation. Otherwise, there was no physical preparation. And besides, I did some forest trails, which were fun, but that was not so much the physical preparation as much as to understand what, a forest officer's job entails.
And I loved your interaction with Ila, Arun, and your husband as well. I think the person who plays your husband, Mukul. The idea that, you have, all this jewelry and, can you imagine walking out into the forest wearing all that jewelry?
Exactly.
And he says to her, tum waisi ladki ho na? I mean, you're the same girl I married, and he says, you say no. Talk a little about that.
It's that this woman is actually, she's now got a forest posting. And I'm saying forest posting because, you don't always get a forest posting as a forest officer. You can be even posted in the city. It
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be, yeah. So, and she's loving what she's doing now. She's completely consumed by what is happening in the villages around her, right? And I don't think he quite gets the passion she feels for her job.
Hmm.
You know, and I think, and I'm not a man hater or anything, but I think it's lack of awareness. Men also feel that, you know, when you say, oh, you look the same or you are the same, like it's almost a compliment to the woman.
Exactly.
You know, because we all want to be almost frozen in time physically and in every other way.
Right.
Or rather physically, and therefore, you know, when he says, tum bilkul nahi badli, everything else gets subsumed under that, because you've always been described physically. That's been your most important description as a woman, you know. So I think she's just like, you know, what are you talking about? What does it have? Where does it have any connection to what is happening in my life?
Yeah.
You know, and then the mother-in-law, like you're saying, you know, is she? The tiger is probably going to attack her. Or is the tiger going to not attack her because she's wearing jewelry?
Yeah.
You know, how does it make any sense? But I think some people just are so myopic in their worldview. I think that's the contrast you see.
Of course.
You see how she's moving forward.
Yeah.
And, you know, she has a more expansive worldview, whereas the others around her, so it's also that patriarchal mindset. And I feel all of us are perpetuating patriarchy, not just the men.
Yeah.
You know, we do it in ways that we don't even realize.
Exactly.
So, which is why, you know, they're all, whether it's the system that she's working within or whether it's a family, they all expect her to be a certain way, which is, I think, also the big fight here.
Yeah. And the guy telling her, you know, I'll look the tiger in the eye and shoot.
Yeah. You know, so the mindset, you see, there's such machismo in saying that, I look it in the eye and I just know.
Yeah.
That's just, it's not, how do you say this? There has to be a more scientific approach before you decide to take down any living being, you know.
Vidya, she doesn't smile. Vidya Vincent doesn't smile.
Doesn't.
Why?
Like I said, you know, she's just one of those people.
Right.
She's just, as a matter of fact, I have to say that there were times when Amit has had to tell me, no, he would come and say, I don't want you to smile in the next day.
Right.
Because it comes very naturally
to you. Yeah.
So there were times, but and I would grapple with that. I would struggle with that sometimes. Because, you know, you also see every character through the prism of your own personality. And you therefore portray the character also, because I'm the medium through which I portray the character, right? So there will be some of me also that flows into it. While, because Amit felt that she is one of those people who's, like I said, she's not really engaging with the world. So she's not going to laugh at a stupid joke, even if her boss is cracking it, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But that must be very difficult for you because you're naturally ebullient. No, I mean, you're naturally.
Yeah, it was. I am telling you, it was. You know, and sometimes I'd be like, but, you know, can she not at least, what is wrong? And just smiling a little.
Right.
I wouldn't say it to him because I knew what he was saying was valid. But in my head, I'd be like, but why can't she smile? You know, but I realized that she's different from me.
And it doesn't mean that she's joyless. It's just,
no. It's just, it's her personality. Right. She just doesn't like to engage too much with people.
I love that. I love that about her. It gives you so many different kinds of role models as well. No, I mean, when we see ourselves being portrayed in so many different ways, we don't always have to be people pleasers. No, that's the worst thing. You know, we're always trying to be, you know, nice to everybody. It's in our DNA, I think, you know.
Yeah, it's so freeing, you know, when you don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if I'm grumpy, I'm grumpy. You don't like it too bad, your problem.
Can we talk a little about Amit Masurkar? How was it being directed by him, and what actually drew you to the film?
What drew me to the film was the world, the unusualness of the story. I'd never imagined that someone would want to make a mainstream film on this subject. And that too, Amit's, I like the satire tone of his work, which I'd seen in Newton. And I could get the whiff of that when he shared the idea with me here also. And I think it was that I'd done lots of ads with Amit. We'd done almost a dozen ads together.
Oh, really?
And I felt like, yeah. And I felt like we worked well together, and we were very quick and all that. And this was really unusual. And he's actually, I have to use the word unusual for him. Because the choice of subject, his telling of it, his approach to performances, everything is very unusual. And therefore sometimes it can get difficult for you to wrap your head around it. But I realized how everything fitted into his vision of the film. Because you're used to a certain way, right? And then that gets challenged by someone like Amit.
Right. And also, did he write...
Sorry, Kadri ma'am, can we take that as last?
Yeah, just the last
time.
Yeah,
Please.
Just the last question. So, I guess, Vidya, we can talk a little about what after this, as much as you can talk about it, because this must have been also what? How many days of shooting, and was it exhausting? What you're looking forward to now?
Not at all exhausting.
Yeah.
Because, I'd actually come back each day feeling like, in the first schedule, I also lived in the forest. Right. So, in a place bordering the forest, and I lived in a tent. So I would always look forward to coming back and going for longer walks, for long walks. But in the second schedule, I didn't want to get out of the jungle. I'd be like, I wish we shot a little more today. It was far from tiring. It was beautiful, yeah, to say the very least. Yeah. It was so peaceful. It was almost cleansing, this process, You felt like you were being cleansed while doing this film. Right. And I've actually said yes to a couple of films, but I'm not talking about them yet because now I don't know which one I'm going to start first when things open up.
Okay, great. So I look forward to them as well, and all the very best. Vidya, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.